You know what we're gonna give it to a cameraman.
Oh, damn, I got paid early this week. Damn.
Merry Christmas!
And direct deposit.
Direct deposit.
That is direct deposit fiber, so. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to NRP. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we have this G80 M3 in for M Performance lowering kit. You can call it coilovers if you want. It's the same thing as the MSS. And then we're also installing a TFL exhaust with an active mid pipe for this G80 M3. This G80 M3 is actually really cool. Let me show you guys. So this is an Interlagos blue G80 M3. It looks insane. I think it looks really cool. I didn't realize that this color is gonna look this sick on this car. It's the color that you used to see on the E46 M3s and the E39 M5s. I think came in that color as well at one point. So in this video, we're actually gonna be showing you guys how to install the coilovers or lowering kit, whatever you wanna call it. And then we're also gonna show you guys in the next video, the exhaust install. I feel like everybody that complains about the front end on the G80s actually ends up liking it more once the car is lowered. So seeing it low is gonna be nice, especially this cool ass color. So check it out. Here they are right here. This is the M Performance lowering kit. It's just like basically a KW HAS kit or the MSS lowering kit. It's essentially the same thing. Okay, so to start the install off, we already have the exhaust down just to have better access in the back. Eric's gonna go ahead and take off the rear wheels first. We'll lift the car back up and I'll show you guys exactly what we have to do here. The front is definitely gonna be a little bit more challenging and more tedious than the rear, so we're just gonna knock out the rear first for you guys and then show you guys how to do the front. All right, so we got the wheels off. Now we're just gonna go ahead and show you guys what you have to do to remove the spring, and then we'll get that started for you. So after removing this 21mm bolt and this 18mm bolt, just go ahead and lower. And the reason why we moved the exhaust is obviously for better clearance to remove that bolt from the subframe. You got the spring out. It's just a matter of transferring it over from the MSS kit, or sorry, the M Performance kit. All right, guys, I'm gonna try my best to show you guys this, but check it out. We have to remove this connector right here. And then once you remove that, you can move the wiring right there to help you pull the strut out, because that's what we have to take out. And then you have to remove those two bolts up there. What are they, Eric?
There's 3 bolts. Should be E12 or 14.
And then we'll remove the bump stops with that as well. And then that'll help us get the strut out. So Eric just confirmed that it is in fact 3 E12. So go ahead and loosen those and that'll help you get the strut out. And just letting you guys know, we couldn't show you guys a second ago, but there's a connector right here. Is that for EDC?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then just make sure you disconnect it. It has a little clip on the end of it too, so just make sure you don't break it and just push that and it should come right out. So we have to remove the bump stops off the stock suspension and grab the ones that come in the M Performance kit. So we're gonna go ahead and do that.
At this point, just remove this little protective dust cover, and there's an electrical connection that connects here. This needs to pop off. You can use something like this just to pry it gently up. Just should pop off like that. And then in here is a 18.12 socket you're gonna need. If you don't already have it, just make sure you buy that ahead of time. And then just zip this nut off. You should be able to get this off to replace this bump stop. This is the OE one. This is the one that comes with the kit. See how it's a little bit shorter?
I would make sure not to mix those up because it's kind of hard to tell, but there is a height difference from the bottom.
You can also see one's got 600 miles on it, one's got 0.
So we got the new bump stops installed. Just go ahead and basically clip everything back together the way it was, like so. And it's basically ready to be put back into the car. Don't forget that connector that goes in as well. Do it while it's out, don't do it while it's like all the way in. It's gonna be harder to get your hand back there. All right, so after tightening those 3 E12s, you can go ahead and move to the next step, which is tightening the, getting the springs installed.
So this is the stock cup. This will get replaced by the perch. See how the center's up here? And then you're gonna transfer over the bottom spring perch to set it on the control arm. This needs to be set prior. I don't know if we're gonna dump it. We're gonna dump the front, but I don't know what that means for the rear since we've never installed this kit before. So maybe we'll do 2 turns all the way around for the rear.
The next step is essentially putting the spring back in. Just be mindful and careful. Make sure all the pins line in right here.
So there's a grommet right here. Make sure this goes on the outside of the car, because if you flip it, you're gonna have a totally wrong
spring install. Just make sure the holes line up. Make sure it's lined up over here too. Don't forget this connector. And then it's just a matter of tightening that 21mm bolt and the 18, was it?
18 and 21.
Yep, 18 and 21. So obviously before you tighten everything up, just make sure you get a pull jack of some kind or something to preload the suspension before you tighten it. And once you can tighten it, for your reference, it is 100 Newton meters for the 18mm bolt and the 21mm bolt. Okay, so Eric just got done with the rear, and now we're gonna go ahead and start and show you guys how to do the front.
So up here, we're gonna take off this cover. Make sure you get this line out of here. And then there's 3 little push pins. Get these out with your special tool. And we're gonna remove this out of here to get access to the top hat. And just get your tool, pop out the EDC connection. It's hard to see, but it's just like the one in the back on the strut. There we go. So then the top hat is these 4 bolts here. This guy has this kit. I forget what the brand is, but you replace this with the fancy looking one.
Downstar, right?
Downstar, that's what it is. All right, so quick rundown in here. Take out the fender liner so you can get access to more pieces. You're gonna have to take the control arms loose. It is all-wheel drive, so we're gonna do it by not taking the axle out. You gotta remove this off of here, little sensor connection, take off the 16s, take out the sway bar end link, and then we'll show you guys the rest.
I want to drop you the rest of what
Oh, hell yeah! Man, this guy Venmoed me like $9.99 and I Venmoed him 10.
Did you say I denied it?
You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna give it to our cameraman.
Oh, damn. I got
Paid early this week. Damn.
Merry Christmas!
and direct deposit.
Direct deposit.
That is direct deposit Fiverr. Damn, Eric, can we get a screw count for this fender liner? Damn.
A lot. There's 4.
All right, what size are they?
10s.
10s. So a bunch of 10 millimeters, guys. Guys, don't forget there's one right here as well. I'd say 10 or 11 10 millimeters.
I mean, you can always just yank on it if it doesn't come off. You missed them. Can we count Spanish or English?
Let's just stick to English.
13, 14, 15. Remove the sensor with a T30. The sway bar end link right here on the other side, it's a 16 millimeter nut. We're going to loosen this control arm and this control arm, and that's to allow the suspension to droop down a little bit and give us the clearance that we need. And it is E14s on both of them right here. So there's one, there's a nut that stays in place so you don't have to counter hold it, and then this one you'll have to get a wrench behind here with a nut on this side.
What size wrench would you say?
18. That should be good. You just want to get it loose.
You don't want to take it completely off, you just make it loose?
Yeah, you just make it loose, but you just want enough to have your suspension droop a little bit to get clearance. So now at this point, we're going to compress the strut a little bit, put some pressure on it, and we're going to relieve the tension off the top hat and remove it this way. So most of the time when we're doing lowering springs, you can do it inside the car without having to remove the strut and all this stuff. And so this one is all-wheel drive, and you have the axle in the way. You see how it's drooping? It's going to hit this essentially. So I've figured out a way to not have to take the axle bolt out, take the control arms, any of this stuff out, because the book says you have to take all this shit out. And so if you are going to take the axle out, wherever you're doing this, make sure you torque this and replace this bolt to 210 and 90 newton meters, because with the amount of power this car has, it can back off and then cause bad things. I'll show you guys how to do it in car without taking anything apart. It's going to blow your mind, because it blew my mind when I figured it out. But essentially, just put a block of wood underneath. See, I put some tension on it. So now we're ready to zip up the top hat, which, have you ever seen the videos where you just and then ejectocito, cuz. Essentially, this is a 18 mil 12 point. Make sure you have that special socket. At this point, we should be able to relieve tension, and the strut's gonna come down. Come down here and show you. Not that fast. A little bit slower. So at this point, if it wasn't all-wheel drive, it would continue going down more, and you would just have all this room to play with. Since it's all-wheel drive, it's hitting the axle, which we're not putting full weight on the car, so it's not going to affect anything. But now, if you look up here, the top hat's been separated from the spring, so we can remove this just to give us more clearance, and I'll show you why in the next steps here. Back to these bolts, they are E14s, so he's got 3 of them. It's supposed to be 4, but he's got this dress-up kit. This is going to be a 5 mil. If you get this dress-up kit, it's actually pretty cool. I don't even know how much it costs, but
I heard it's like in the $700-800 range.
oh, damn.
It does look good though.
So at this point, this is the only thing holding it in, so I'll just put my hand underneath it just so I can it won't fall.
And then once that's out, you'll have more clearance, correct?
Right.
To take the spring out? Is
Yep.
that what it is? Okay.
So also, when you're going back in, make sure that this is pointing. You'll have an L on the left side, R for right. Make sure it's pointing forward. It fits one way or the other, but the way the geometry is on it, you got to make sure it's right. So just be very careful. Start taking it out. And then just like that, it comes out. At this point, if we were just doing like H&R springs or MSS or something like that, then we would go ahead and put on with our spring and we're done. Go back together. But since this is the M Performance suspension, these perches get changed out. So this whole assembly needs to come out because we got to go to the press, and I'll walk you guys through how to do that part. So this is the perch I'm going to be replacing with. Take this off, put this one on, and this is just like a coilover. So how many ever spins is how you're going to adjust your height. This customer wants to go dump, so we're going to basically max it out and dump it. Whenever you're grabbing this, just make sure that you have the right side on the right side and the left on the left. It's labeled to make it super easy. Luckily it is a BMW part, so everything is clear. And then basically you need to press this out, press this in, and we'll go to the press. Just remove these two 16mm bolts. All right, so at this point, if you have two of the BMW spreader tools, it'd be ideal. This is what it looks like for reference. We don't have it, we don't use it. I've never used that in my 10+ years of doing this. Here's my special tool, some chisels work, and I'll show you exactly how to do it. Basically, you're just spreading the knuckle so you can get access to it. One, and then two. At this point, this is loose. So now we have all the clearance. Since we were able to disassemble this inside the car, this can go up in the strut tower and give you the extra clearance to bring it out. If you don't disassemble it in the car, then you're never gonna get it out without taking the axle out, taking the control arms out, doing all this stuff. And so now we're ready to go to the press and press this guy out. Before we go to the press, this little coupling needs to come off. It's just a dust cover. And so you can just pry around until you work it off, and eventually it just comes off. Make sure you don't forget this when you put it back on. It's not that big of a deal if you forget it, but if dust and stuff starts to get in here, it's gonna reduce the life. This is the special tool that it comes with. Basically what this is gonna do is line you up and give you the distance that you need. For all-wheel drive cars only, you're gonna need this special tool. And here's the part number for you guys. We'll put it in the description as well. Dang, I'm shaky. Too much coffee. What this tool does is you drop it in here and it gives you the extra distance, because I guess these struts are shorter on the all-wheel drive, and it's gonna sit a little bit higher. If you don't have this tool, I don't think it'd be the end of the world. We just wanted to do it right for this customer. But just for reference, this is like 28mm gap or so, but it's tapered. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mark this strut so we can measure things and where it's gonna land. Essentially, the new perch is gonna come down here to this lip. You see how it like tapers down? The new one's not gonna come past that. So once you bottom out, it's not that big of a deal. So I don't know why they tell you need this. It's just like a KW kit that doesn't come with this. You can just press it all the way down, and once the stops pressing, then you're good to go. So yeah, let's go to the press. Before you press anything out, you want to mark the direction of where this earlobe is, because you're gonna want to put the one we're gonna put back on in the same spot. So this tool is designed to where it's either gonna fall on the left side or the right side. So if you're on the right side of the car, your thing is gonna fall on the left. If you're on the left side of the car, the thing's gonna fall on the right, and vice versa. But if you don't mark it before, you could technically flip it over and it'll be wrong. So you see how that just falls into the left side? This will make more sense whenever I'm pressing the new one in. But this tool you'll use to press out this one as well as pressing the new one. It's actually pretty cool. So I'll show you guys the setup over here. The thing with the press is, the sketchier it is, the more in business you are. See how the strut's coming down?
Several days later.
Almost there. Like I said, the sketchier the better. So this is the part I was telling you with the new stuff. It's not gonna go past this point, so I don't really know why we needed that special tool, but we're gonna do it the way they want us to do it. So at this point, put your special tool on.
This is why that marking was important now, right?
Yeah, this is why the mark is important, because you're gonna land. Actually, I forgot about the all-wheel drive tool. So it can give you extra distance. So then this guy, see? So you're gonna fall on the left one. You're gonna confirm with your marking. And then you're gonna use the same tool to press it, except you're gonna flip this upside down so that you never wanna put pressure on this, because that will ruin the strut. And it'll compress and it won't give you the pressing that you need. So I'll set this up and show you guys how to rumble. So this is the OE bump stop. Make sure you swap it out with the one that it comes with. It's a little bit shorter. Since we are going to be lower, you need this extra clearance. So don't forget this, because once you put it all back together, you're going to be pissed when you don't put it back. Just line this up where it goes right there. You see the end stop. You can see where it used to be. And then grab your top hat. So at this point, you don't even need a spring compressor or anything, because it's so much shorter than the OEM. you can just put the nut on it. So before you go back in, again, like I mentioned before, make sure this is facing forward on the car. At this point, you just want to snug these up. We'll go back and torque them, torque everything down to spec. Just want to snug them up so that it'll be up against the wheel well of the car and give you the most clearance down at the bottom. It'll show you here why you need that. This rotates freely. There's this piece goes in the middle of the separator that you used earlier, so just make sure that that's lined up. Once that's lined up, you'll be able to put the knuckle into the strut and bring it all up together the way it needs to go. See how easy that just went up? So at this point, you can move your get in the special tool. 1, 2, and then we can throw our 16s back on so we can get rid of our jack. At this point, we're just putting everything back together the way we took it apart. Easy peasy. So forget to put this back. You will have faults for EDC if you don't connect it.
All right, so Eric right now is just gonna pre-tension the suspension before he tightens his bolt up, because you shouldn't do this with it completely.
You won't have access
moving
to the bolts whenever the fender liner and stuff is in, so go ahead and get that out of the way before you put those 10 mils back in.
Now we just put those 15 10mm bolts back in for the fender liner, and we're essentially done with this. And then obviously put your wheel back, don't forget that. And then the best part about this entire installation is finally getting to lower it off the lift and seeing how it looks lowered. All right guys, check it out. It is finally completely lowered. The front and the rear have settled. It is now actually a day later, so whatever settling could have happened, I'm sure it's happened by now. Obviously when the car drives a little bit, it could settle a little bit more. Not to say it's completely done settling. I think the height looks awesome. That's actually max low in the front. I'll show you guys before and after pics right now on the screen. As you can see, the front, when you're looking at it now, because it's just not low enough to our eye, it doesn't look like it's lowered at all. But when you look at the before and then you look at the after, it's just a significant drop in the front. So I'll give you guys the dimensions on the screen so you can see exactly how many inches or millimeters it dropped in the front and in the rear. I'll leave it right there on the screen for you guys. And as you can see in the before and after of the rear as well, I think this car definitely looks a lot better now than it did before with the height adjusted. I personally think the front should come down a little bit more, but obviously we can't do anything about it because BMW obviously is not for dumping cars. It's an M Performance OEM kit, so obviously it's gonna be more of a drivable setup versus something that is just going to make the car hard to drive. Well, all in all, I think the car looks fantastic. I think it looks amazing. The rear end definitely looks good with the wheel spacers too. Like, it's just, the stance is very nice. But anyway guys, that pretty much concludes today's DIY. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope it was informative. If you guys have any questions on how to do the install or anything like that, feel free to comment down below. And you can even email us at info@northraleigh.performance.com if you have any questions. If you are trying to get a quote to have us do it for you, again, email us at info@northraleigh.performance.com and we'll be more than happy to get back to you through email. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.